I expanded the way that my relationship with God is,
Mm,
right? Like no more was it, and these were for the photos in the church, right? The white man with the long hair, Jesus, and like that was ingrained in me. And it took me a long time to not have God be a person. So I had to decolonize even my mind and the way I was relating with God, because the cycle of trauma is that you're in the pain, you are depressed, or you're going through your emotions, and it's like this vicious cycle. And then nothing feels worthy of doing, and then you do nothing, not even like mundane things.
Welcome to another episode of our podcast. I am your friend, Wafa Umran, and this is Go Beyond. Understanding that you grew up Christian and going to
Yeah.
church is the way to do it, but you tried something new. And
Yeah, I wasn't, I, yeah, I grew up Christian. I grew Seventh-day Adventist, gave me a very strong foundation. And then later, even though I'm Latina, I am Indigenous, like my family never had Indigenous practices, really. We knew we ate the foods, right? The ayacas, the yapingachos, which is like Andean food, colada, and I would study about the Incans and my ancestors, but it wasn't in the home that I learned so much about Indigenous practices. My girlfriend Carolyn, she helped me because she was in Seattle, and she said, I really think you should come and experience an inipi. And I go, what's that? She's like, a sweat lodge. And I was like, what's a sweat lodge? She said, well, I'd rather not try to explain it. I'd rather just have you experience it. She goes, it's a Lakota tradition.
okay,
And she was East Band Cherokee, but her teacher was Lakota. So I went, and it was amazing. I was with a group of people. We're there. It's kind of like this little igloo. There's like willow trees and blankets, and the fire is outside. There's a fire keeper. And when you're inside, it's so dark.
mm,
And these lava rocks are brought in, and they're super hot. And then she would be drumming, or she would sing, we would pray, but then she'd pour water on the rocks, and so all this steam would come. So literally it's this whole very somatic, very spiritual experience. And in there, a couple of things were revealed to me. I felt the first time my body was light, like the trauma and everything I had in my body was relieved. It was no longer in my body.
beautiful.
And I couldn't believe that. I mean, I had such a heavy heart, and I had so much guilt for all the people who had passed. Um, and all of that just was lifted up. And so being in the womb, being in the cave, allowed me to really sit in my shadows and deal with all those pains that I had had. And it healed my body. So these ancient practices were in my cultural blind spot, but for our healing, we have to do that. We have to have the ability to make our healing such a priority that we're willing to do something completely new. And it served me. And it doesn't necessarily have to serve everyone the same way, but I think we all have our own way of healing ourselves. But just to want to get better so much that we're willing to try something completely new really saved me and helped me evolve.
Wow, that is very powerful. But I'm sure that it didn't stop there at the lodge. I'm wondering if that has changed your outlook on your spirituality. So has made a shift in your life.
Yeah, definitely. I think there were a lot of things that were happening between the people who had passed and how I could feel. It's almost like when you're so close to death,
Mm,
I felt like I was in the middle,
mm,
and then there was this world in front of me.
Mm.
And the indigenous like cosmovision was answering more questions than my Christian faith had been able to.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of energies I was feeling,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of things that would happen. And the Christian answer is it's the devil. That I was like, no, that wasn't, So I wanted more. I wanted to understand what's this liminal space? Why am I feeling all these different things? And it really took me on a journey because I expanded the way that my relationship with God is,
Mm.
right? Like no more was it, and these were for the photos in the church, right? The white man with the long hair, Jesus, and like that was ingrained in me. And it took me a long time to not have God be a person. And
Mm.
so I had to decolonize even my mind and the way I was relating with God, because for me there was a huge sacredness of life
Mm.
that I would understand from that point on.
Mhm.
And I just wanted practices that would allow me to live in that sacred way
Yeah.
and that path.
Yeah.
And so the Quero tradition from the Andes, that tradition really spoke to me. I always grew up seeing the indigenous communities. I always like, wow, I wonder, and people talked about shamanism but it was always very distant. And so then after I wrote my book, one of the biggest questions was, well, what's your relationship with Mother Earth now? And I was like, I don't know what my relationship with Mother Earth is now. And so, even just in the last 5 years, I've just jumped deeper into the Quero tradition from the Andes and the living energies and elements. And it's all, I'd say, if I could, from the Christian perspective, all of it was created by God, right? Um, but then, for whatever reason, when I was growing up, we don't honor the creations of God because we see it as physical. So
Mm.
so Christianity has like a law of Newton kind of ingrained in it. Only the physical thing can be property, the physical thing can serve you. But in the indigenous perspective, it's it's all sacred,
Mm.
it's all living, and it is medicine. And so that's how I've been able to shift and transform
Yeah.
my life and help other people with their trauma.
Yeah, that resonates a lot with me because even in my journey with grief after the loss of my son, I had to learn new things and new ways, and I had to something about trauma and being hit by any kind of adversity will invite you to retest things and reevaluate things and get in touch with your spirituality. Some people do, and those are the lucky ones. And some people ignore all of these voices and just keep going with life without dealing with it. So, yes, dealing with that made me think of a lot of things. And one of the things that I learned is how to connect with what's around me. Like I have a special connection with birds, by the way. I see birds as a connection from my son, and
Mhm.
I see them. They come to me. They're always around me. The other day, I found a dead sparrow on my window, and yeah, and right away I knew that this means something, and I went and I tried to look it up, and I found that this Paras is an end of an era and an opening for a new one, and it is definitely a message from the dead as well.
We call them animal medicine.
Mm,
That's
yeah,
what an animal spirits. And so each animal has a message for you.
yeah.
If you're lucky enough to be in a place where there is nature and their animals come and visit you, they have a message. For me, it was the crow. The morning of September 11th, I was woken up by this whole tree in front of my bedroom window filled with the murder of crows. That's what they call a bunch of crows. It's called a murder of crows. And I was like, oh my goodness. And the crow is my animal spirit.
Mm,
And one of the things that the crow does is it, the cawing, it's actually asking you to use your voice.
mm,
And the crow is also the transporter of sacred knowledge. So it all helps us on our journey, and I
yeah,
think it's beautiful that you have that connection with birds as well. Yeah.
yeah. Many people struggle to reconcile their faith and their cultural identity. For someone who's listening and feels conflicted about that, where can they begin? And how did you find that balance?
Mm. You have to be willing to be a seeker.
Mm,
So I think, I grew up Latina. I still identify as Latina, even if I'm multiracial. But because I did grow up Christian, it was very difficult for me to learn about my indigenous way of being with the divine and have that relationship, because it was almost completely opposite of being Christian. And so there was a lot of judgment. So I did have to take some space from some people, but I also was curious. I was like, okay, well, let me take decolonial classes. Let me do business in a different way, right? Sometimes you can start very like in your head and start in like linear terms to kind of get there. And then my teacher appeared as one of the speakers in my decolonial class. And then I was like, oh my goodness, she practices a Quero tradition, which is what I wanted to learn my whole life. And so I was like, yes, I think begin to discern. God made things are universal. Man-made things serve a group.
yes, yes.
And so it's whether it's cultural or whether it's your faith, I think on both scales, what part of your culture is only serving a group
Mhm.
and what part of your faith is only serving a group. You can still love it, practice it, but be conscious of it and then do the work that is necessary, because your culture is leaving so many people out. Like in Latino culture, Latino music, it's African music, it's Black music, right? I mean, cumbia, salsa, merengue, it's all African created, but Latinos say it's Latino, which is the same thing with American culture. They love rock, they love country music, they love hip hop. That's all Black music, but we call it American, right? And so culturally, it's like, okay, this is part of my culture, but it's only serving a few. Who is it leaving out? And then go there.
Yeah,
So kind of start seeing, and you'll see the pattern.
yes.
And that's why even understanding colonialism and how it has shaped many cultures and many faiths is important.
Yeah, and you said previously that you had to expand your definition of God, not shrink it. And that's what exactly what you're talking about, shrinking it all into like the small group or small entity, when God has created the whole vast universe and we are part of this movement, universal movement. And if we understand that the whole movement will change, it will be more in harmony. And that's what is asked from us as humans sharing this worldly experience, to be together as one in one pot instead of this division that only serves evil again.
Yeah. To expand the definition of God, you have to expand your consciousness.
Yeah,
And
I love that. And what would you tell people who are still stuck in trauma? Like,
yeah,
how can they begin the healing process?
you still need to talk about it. You still need a mental therapist. You still need to, I'd say, have a breathing exercise
Mm.
It could be yoga, it could be meditation, qigong, however that is. Find a way to heal your body. The mind itself, I'd say the one thing about the trauma is the trauma is still in your body. So no matter what, still find ways to heal your body. But I think the most important thing you can ever do is to distract yourself from the cycle. Because the cycle of trauma is that you're in the pain, you are depressed, or you're going through your emotions, and it's like this vicious cycle. And then nothing feels worthy of doing, and then you do nothing, not even like mundane things. And so, volunteering,
Mm.
can I tell you how volunteering gets you out of your head, gets you out of your home, and it allows you to be present, and then you're giving of your service, and there's something that happens. There's something when you are just present with other people. And one, you'll see that there's other people having a way harder time with life than you.
Yeah.
And then there's, and then you find these moments of someone being grateful with you, even though you're trying to heal and you don't even and then now someone's grateful you were there for them in some way. And so if you're really having a hard time, I'd say volunteering helps you to get present.
Yeah.
If you're not capable of volunteering, find an exercise that makes you present and take it day by day. Like sometimes it's only you're in what you're feeling, and sometimes you only get a relief for an hour.
Yeah.
But hey, it was better than yesterday. You didn't think about it for an hour, and then the next day it might be 2 hours. But it's a slow process. It doesn't happen overnight. There is not a 5-step, 10-step process to healing. There's none of that. And I would never subscribe to that. The step jump, that's the name of the book that, that I
That's the
do some
book.
consulting under.
For my listeners,
That's,
if you want to get the book of Annabelle,
yeah,
steps.
yeah. It's the first step is acknowledging that you are going through something.
Mm.
The second step is just taking action on focusing on it, like, okay, I'm going to work on this. And then the jump is doing something completely new, doing something that scares you, doing something that, jumping in your cultural blind spot. But your healing journey is your own and is personal to you. And so the more ways that you can find yourself to be present,
Yeah.
dancing, taking a dance class, um, volunteering, like I said, all of that is going to help you to distract yourself from the cycle.